It's time for another good idea, bad idea. Bad idea.
Hey guys, let's make a live service Monster Hunter clone that sucks. Why? Why? That's all I want to know. Why? Why Kenji Saito? Why did you think, in any sense of reality, that this microtransaction-riddled piece of shit was a good idea? Why? I mean, I'm not being overly dramatic here. I put multiple hours into this game after you guys donated it to me, trying to find something positive that I could say about it. And I couldn't find a single thing. Every aspect of this game, from start to finish, sucks. It's the worst game I've played this generation by far, and I've played some doozies. Compared to this, Dark Alliance is a classic. Compared to this, Halo Infinite, which doesn't even have its live service elements added yet, is a masterpiece. This pile of fail is so bad, it's actually kept me up at night, just trying to figure out why this game was made. Why Kenji Saito thought this was a good idea. Why they actually followed it from concept to completion, and still, after multiple delays, ended up putting out a half-assed, incomplete piece of trash. I do not exaggerate when I say that this could be the one. This might be the game that finally breaks me. This could be the game that sends me back to just playing my old retro systems and never touching new games ever again. Or at least, this is the one that comes closest to it. Because by God, what a fucking fail. Might as well do this one by the book. Let's start with the graphics, shall we? Because good lord, they suck. I am not exaggerating. This game looks like a late-era PS3 game that's been upscaled to modern resolutions. The textures suck. The character models suck. The hair physics suck. The color palette is low. The cutscenes are just barely moving paintings that still frame from one animation to the next. I mean, there's a couple of them that take place in the bar, and a couple of cutscenes that are prior to boss fights that are fully animated, but most of them are not, and the ones that we do get aren't that great. For real, Final Fantasy Type 0, the remake of the PSP game that came out for PS4, looks better graphically than this game does. I'm not even kidding. The music is well done, but that ain't saying a whole lot. It's just your typical generic Final Fantasy stuff that doesn't stand out from any of the older games like 7, 6, 10, 12, and so on. You will never remember a single track from this game. The sound effects are okay. You know, nothing to write home about. The voice acting, at least on the US dub, is god-awful. It interjects constantly. They're talking to you through some kind of magical radio that's in the thing strapped to your back, the coffin or whatever. I can't even remember the name of it now. The plot is so dumb. It's just there. There's nothing really bad to say about it. There's nothing really good to say about it. It's functional, and that's about all I can say. There's barely any plot to it. It's very similar to plots that you'd see from your stereotypical Japanese roguelike. Azure Dreams and Climax Landers immediately comes to mind. You play a character that's brought to this island on a ship, basically like a slave, and there's a tower there. Big, tall tower, full of magic and evil monsters. And apparently there's something at the top of that tower that's making everybody sick. They come down with this disease that slowly either kills them or turns them into a monster. and the various leaders and factions in this town, they all believe that at the top of the tower, a cure can be found for this disease. But none of them have been strong enough to make it to the top. So what do? They go to all the other lands of this world and kidnap people and bring them back to the island and slap this thing on their back called a Gideon coffin. Looks kind of like a medieval take on the identity disc from Tron Legacy. And it either kills you instantly or it gives you powers with these magic floating weapons that are attached to the back of this Gideon coffin thing that you can use at the same time, switching between them during combat. And at the same time, it gives you various different magical effects, like the ability to heal or the ability to latch on to a contact point, Bionic Commando style, to zip you past various gaps and dangers and whatnot. And so they give you that and the most basic weapons, and they send you into the tower, and that's the whole story. Which, of course, brings us to the meat of this review, the gameplay, and the systems that support said gameplay. I really don't get this one. Platinum games are known for their gameplay, for their fast, frenetic, accurate action gameplay. Bayonetta, Nier Automata, they're known for their gameplay. So why does the combat suck so hard in Babylon's Fall? It is terrible. Absolutely horrid. One of the worst I've played. And I've played Dark Alliance. You've got weak attacks, you've got strong attacks, you've got jumping attacks, and then of course you have super magical attacks that you can use the trigger buttons for various uses of the weapons that you have floating on your back. Combat is split up into melee or ranged. Ranged can be arrows, there's magic attacks, some of the weapons have ranged attacks that can be activated. And that's pretty much it. You can string together combos just like any other Platinum Games game, but it doesn't feel like a Platinum Games game. It just feels slow and clunky. Even with your faster, lighter attacks, it still feels slow. For one thing, the enemies don't react the way they would in other Platinum games. There's not really anything insofar as aerial combos or multiple combos to use. It's just very generic and straightforward. It's really hard to describe unless you've actually had the controller in your hand and can play it for yourself so that you can feel how bad it feels. This is a live service game, so it goes without saying that all the enemies are damage sponges. Every enemy in the game, even the weakest, smallest ones, have a life bar that take multiple hits to take them down. The levels are some of the most generic stuff you've ever seen. It's just like in Dark Alliance. You have one set path where there's very little exploration. Every now and again, there's a mechanic that you can use to sense hidden areas that might have, a semi-rare piece of gear in it or something like that. But otherwise, you're following a straight line where you run down a hallway, avoid a couple of obstacles like spikes on the floor or whatever. Then you get into a big open room and a bunch of enemies spawn in and you're locked in there until you kill them all. Then you run down some more hallways and you repeat this several times per level until you either get at the end and there is a boss, or you get at the end and there's not a boss and it's just another spawn of enemies, and then you move on to the next one. Later on in the game, you'll start unlocking additional missions for the levels that you've already completed in the tower. So there's a lot of backtracking there too that opens up alternate paths in these missions that you've already done. But again, you're still just running down hallways, ziplining over gaps and spikes, occasionally having to do some underwater stuff. But it all still feels like the same thing and gets repetitive incredibly fast. Now obviously this is a live service game. It was meant to be played in co-op. You can play it solo if you choose, but it's meant to be played multiplayer co-op. And trust me, that's the way you will want to play it. It's not that it's difficult playing single player, because it's really not. Playing it single player just takes forever. And the reason being is because you're the only one doing damage to these enemies, and guess what? As far as I can tell, there's absolutely no scaling in the enemies between single player and multiplayer. It's all the same thing. Thankfully, the AI of the enemies is incredibly dumb. For every enemy type that I encountered, with the exception of the bosses, if I was playing solo, I found one really simple and yet time-consuming way to get through every battle relatively unscathed. You just lock on to one enemy out of all the enemies in the room and start circle strafing around them, just running as fast as you can around them. And every time they get close enough to you, you hit your R2 or whichever one you've got tied to your special sword attack and take some of its life off. They can't hit you because they'll just keep walking around in circles trying to catch up to you. So you just repeat this over and over. You run around in circles, hit the R2. When you run out of power for that bar, because those special attacks have a meter that refills and drains, once you fill that back up, you repeat it. Eventually everything in that area dies. You move on to the next area. It really is that easy because the AI really is that bad. I also found out that this can be used for some of the earlier bosses. You can run around in circles and they will just keep trying to catch you, and you just hit them when they get within your range and they eventually die. It wasn't until I got to the boss on, I think, the first section of the third area. It's this rock boss that has a charge attack and large area of effect attacks, where that wasn't working because he doesn't follow you when you run around him, and it's in a more restricted area, so you can't really pull that off without getting hit by his area of effect damage. I was still able to whittle him down to just a little under 1/3 of his health left before he finally got me, because the game gives you plenty of chances. You have 5 health potions per level, and when you run out of those health potions, you can regenerate yourself 5 times, but when you get regenerated, you don't get more potions to revive your health. So you get a full health bar, but no way to fill that back up. So that gives you a total of 10 chances per fight before you get sent back to the hub world. And doing that, I was able to manage almost killing him, but he got me in the end. And then all you have to do is just replay the ones you've already done and grind and grind and grind until you're powerful enough to take it out. Or you can play multiplayer, and then it's a whole other story. Like I said, with the multiplayer, the enemies don't appear to scale between single player and co-op. So they're all the same power, and instead of being by yourself, you've got 3 other people with you, and you mop the floor with these bosses. When I've played co-op in this game, there wasn't any difficulty to it. We walked in there, I was doing ranged attacks, they were doing close-in attacks. I would come in, circle around it for some special move stuff. Boom, boss dead. The problem there is that A, matchmaking is broken, and B, hardly anyone bought this piece of shit, so you're lucky if you ever get anyone into your game to help you go through these levels in the first place. And just playing through the regular mission areas before getting to the boss when you're playing co-op is even easier. It's like 0 challenge. I'm sure some of the other players thought I was kind of weird looking, running around in circles while they were in close doing melee attacks and taking the damage, while I was relatively unscathed, just running around in circles taking chunks out of the health bars. But it still works even when playing with multiplayer. The same strategy still applies. That's how bad the AI is. I can't stress that strongly enough. I was laughing because of how bad it was through my whole experience. But 7th, you might say, you're missing the point with these live service games. It's not about how good the combat is, it's about playing with your friends, and it's about leveling up. It's about enjoying the grind. Hogwash. Hogwash. These types of games are about making you spend money. From the very get-go, from the start of the game, guess what? You can't craft anything. You can't craft nothing. And the stuff that you can buy in the store is weak and useless. All the best stuff is tied to the store where you have to spend real money and signing up for battle passes and that kind of crap. being able to craft your own gear doesn't even unlock until the end of the third area of the game. And then enemies don't even start dropping crafting materials until midway into the fourth area of the game. And guess what, folks? Any super great gear that you do find just from loot drops or treasure chests or what have you, you can't even enhance any of that gear. Even if it has slots for it, you can't enhance any of that gear until after beating the last boss of the game. They consider enhancing your existing gear an end game process. They introduce you at the very beginning of the game to the guy who you go to enhance your gear, and he even has his little hammer and anvil above his head to let you know, hey, that's my gear enhancing guy. But he won't do jack shit for you as far as enhancing weaponry until after you've beat the final boss. And why? Because they want you to spend that money. They want you to spend your real money because the in-game currency, the conches or whatever, again, doesn't buy anything you will ever need. It's all worthless crap. That money serves no purpose. All the decent stuff in the game is bought with real-world currency. It's a buy-to-win game, which is hilarious considering that when you play co-op, the game is so easy that there's no point in buying to win because you can win with just the gear you find in boxes because of the enemies not scaling when you're playing single player compared to multiplayer. It's a joke. It's an absolute joke. There's nothing else I can really say about this game. Usually I like to throw in some little memes and jokes or whatnot. There's no jokes that I could make that would adequately express the humor of how bad this game is any more than just looking at it. It makes fun of itself by just existing. Babylon's Fall is without doubt the worst game that I have played of this generation. It is abysmal, abhorrent. Don't waste your money on it. Don't waste your time on it. Babylon's Fall gets the absolute worst review I can give, which is a big fat 0 out of 7.